like those. This is very good.
So Siman Amud Aleph Mishpat is one of the most fundamental simonim in Hilchos Eidos, and it deals with Psul Resha. It is a very lengthy siman, with 35 seifim. But the topic we will be discussing today is not necessarily Psul Resha, but a more fundamental discussion: is a non-from person kosher la'edus or not? So Botei Din, especially Botei Din that are recognized Metam HaMedina, have a huge struggle. When people come to give edus, they don't seem to be from. Will the courts accept this type of discrimination because you're not from? We don't believe you, or we do believe you. So today we will be discussing, first of all, my shitta, my opinion about Teinok Shenishba. And I wrote in Minchas Shal Shuvas Chelek Aleph Siman Yud a very lengthy discussion which goes against common or conventional hashkafa. Machal Shabbos Befarhesia Dinoi Kemuman Avodah Zorah Dinoi Kigoy Lachol Dor. That's the Gemara in Chulin Daf Hey. Shulchan Aruch Shin Pei Hey in Hilchos Eiluvin. Rambam, very last halacha in Hilchos Shabbos Perek Lamed Tes Vav. I think it would be helpful if I could have a Rambam's Manim and a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Dalet, if it's available. So how do we deal with a common chiloni in our day and age with a Machal Shabbos Befarhesia? Dinoi Kigoy Lachol Dor. Is that so? So in Hilchos Shabbos Siman Shin Pei Hey, if you could just a very vast halacha in Hilchos Shabbos, I think it's Lamed Tes Vav.
Surprisingly, yes.
Yisrael Mumel Avodas Alilim Oy Lechal Al Shabbos Befarhesia Afilu Einoi Mechal Aloi Elo Be'ised Rabbanan Hareu Kigoy and that is Aruch Shin Pei dealing with Bitul Rishus Schiras Mokai, which is a certain halacha in the Chassidus. The Rambam, very last halacha in Hilchos Shabbos, HaShabbos v'avodas lechovim v'mazolos, kol achas mishteim shkulu keneged kol shar mitzvahs haTorah. HaShabbos oishe ben HaKodesh b'chaneinu lefichach kol oiver al shar mitzvahs harei b'chal l'shei Yisrael. אבל למחר shabbos Befarhesia, הרי הוא כאויבד avodas lechovim v'mazolos, ושניהם כאויבדי ככובם לכל דבריה. 150 years ago, in Shalos Yeshuvas Binyan Tzion, you know what the Binyan Tzion was? The Oruch Lener. Do you know who the Oruch Lener was? Why do you think so? Just 300 years between the Kappas and the Oruch Lener. The Kappas was Maram ben Chativ, and the Oruch Lener was Yaakov Ettlinger.
He built big in Sukkah.
Both big in Sukkah, yes. So the Oruch Lener was Yaakov Ettlinger. Whenever I deal with this Torah, I make an amazing comment. The Shoel Meisha, the Yosef Sholatanzon, was considered the Posek Gadol in his day and age. He corresponds with many Rabbeim of his time. He corresponds with the Divrei Chaim, the Tzanza. He corresponds with the Chidush Harim. But there's only one Gadol that he titles Ish Elokim. And that is an extreme title. And that title is reserved for the Yeker, the Yaakov Ettlinger, the Oruch Lener. Interesting. Shola Mesha was a Galatiano. It corresponds with the Divrei Chaim and the Chiddush. But the Bianca Redliger is interesting. So, Shalshus Binyan Tzion HaChadosh is in a Chov Gimel. At the top of the Tshuva, Ralocha Velola Mais. And he asks a question. How do we deal today with Machal Shabbos that come to Shul today? If a Machal Shabbos is Oived Avodah Zorah, what is he doing in Shul? If he's a guy, why is he coming to Shul? The fact that he comes to Shul to daven, how could we say Oived Avodah Zorah? Ki goy l'chol dor. He specifies, he writes, I'm not paskening this lemaisa, but I wonder. This is a question which needs to be dealt with. One generation after the Orchaner, the two greatest poskim were the Galatiana Gedolim, Beis Yitzchok, the Bissuk Shmelkes, Yordei Chelik Beis Kuntras Achron, Even Ezer Beis Samachay, and the Marsham. Chelik Aleph Kuf Rav Aleph, they both quote the Binyan Tziyah. They don't clearly paskin kavusay, but they're mitzad of the Binyan Tziyah with other tziruf to be mekel and Chalashav's in place. Fast forward another 50 years, David Zvi Hoffman was one of the Gedolim in Germany before the war, post-Holocaust. You say from Alamed Lahoyom. He wrote that he has a Messiahus that the Shoyla Meshav Paskin that in America, a Machal Shabbos B'Chalasya, Ein Din Oike Mumar. And I ask, why did he give a break dafka to Americans? Did he fundraise in America? Did he have any special relationship with American Jewry? Well, why would America be different? But that's what David Zvi Hoffman writes in Simachov Tesem Alamed Lahoyom. And I think we know what happened to American Jewry 100 years ago, before the Holocaust, between the two world wars. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of Yidden that got up Shabbos early in the morning for a Nates meeting because they needed to go to work. So if people get up 5 in the morning to daven Shabbos in the morning with Nates because they don't want to miss Kriyas HaTorah, how could you say they're Koiv Avodah Zorah, Koiv from Be'ikar, Dinam Kinki? A person that gets up Shabbos morning to daven with the Nates is a guy? How could you say that? So, in a tshuva I wrote recently, I said, why is a Machal Shabbos B'Faresi different than a Boyal Mido, a person that eats orla, dam? If you eat meat that wasn't kashed properly, you're eating dam, it's a chorus. I don't want to go into the discussion, dam shabishlo. Boyal Mido is in a chorus. But only Mechal Shabbos B'Faresi is Koiv Avodah. And my argument is, it's not because Etzem HaChumra. Mitzad Chumra, what's the difference for Faresi or Tzina? I quoted the Shulchan Aruch and Shiyim Pei, even by an Issa D'Rabbanan Dinoi Kibun. How could an Issa D'Rabbanan of Shabbos be Yoysa Chomer than a lav of Arayas, or Macholas Asuras? An Issa D'Rabbanan can be Yoysa Chomer than Issa D'Oraisa. And therefore it's clear to me that it is only once upon a time Shabbos was the fundamental bar. If you don't keep Shabbos, you're out. Every Jew that has some shemetz of Yiddishkeit kept Shabbos. That's no longer the situation. It's no longer the reality in the Jewish world. In Eretz Yisrael, there are tens of thousands of ladies that are madlik Ner Shabbos. They slack shis gedol and they cover their eyes and they daven for their children. And then they take out their smartphones and spend half a night with their smartphone. And maybe they'll even drive to a park Shabbos morning. But they're There won't be Mavata and Eretz Shabbos for Korban Da'am. So we're living in a different reality. And that is what troubled the Orach Haner 150 years ago. They're coming to Shul. Why are they coming to Shul? Today, maybe the bar would be Milas Haben. Still, almost every Jew, if it's not a declared atheist and a Apokoros Goma, well, Malas children. And I have a moil using it too. Okay. Nicht gefährlich. But Malas children. Most Israelis fast on Yom Kippur. Most of them are not very diligent. They take a sip of water, they're very thirsty, but fundamentally. So Shabbos is no longer the fundamental bar. It's not the reality. And that is why the Dossi Hoffman wrote, the Shalom Ish said, in America, you can't say Mechal Shabbos B'Farasi is a guy. He's getting up 5 o'clock in the morning to daven with the night. He doesn't want to miss Kriyas HaTorah Shabbos. So that's an argument of various Gedolim going back many, many years. According to the Balaitor, quoted by the Beis Yosef, it's only Avodas Karka that we say Koived Avodas Olam. In Lamites Melochas, there's no difference Avodas Karka or Avodas Mekarka. You write 2 letters, it's the same as plowing your field. That's Koisev, that's Chodesh, that's Zareh. But the Ito says, Koived Avodas Olam, only Avodas Karka. Shar Sheshuv is Sheres Yisrael. Rav Velman Mintzberg was the Av based in the Chassid Shah based in Yerushalayim 100 years ago. He brings from the Ra'anach, Shar Sheshuv is Maim HaMukim, that there's a Toras in Gersa and the Balaitor. The Beis Yosef quotes him, Avodas Karka. But the proper Gersa is Avodas HaKorbanos. Avodas HaKorbanos. Yeah, Pshat in the Balaitor is. When the Gemara says in Chulin Daf Hey, Machal Shabbos B'Farasi Koi V'Avodas Zora, the sugi there is Shchitas Kodshim. Koi V'Avodas Zora to pass a Korban, not other din. And when you learn the Balaitor, it is clear that that's the Pshat. Benkach ubenkach. Mitzad chumres averes Shabbos. How can the Rabbanan be more chumer than an Issa D'Oraisa? Why would there be a difference between Avodas Karka and other Avodas? But if our understanding is the symbolic value, there's a difference. If a person puts on a cigarette, it's one thing. If he goes out to work his fields in Shabbos, that proves that he's out. He's out of the game. So many Gedolim deal with the question, is Chiddush Shabbos still the fundamental part? Which brings us to a broader question. Tinok Shenishba. Tinok Shenishba Bein Anochim doesn't have a din of a mumar. How do we relate to Chiloinim in our day and age? So there's a huge fundamental machlokes between the Rambam and the Radabaz. Do we have a Rambam Shoiftim, very last chelik in Rambam, Hilchos Mamrim, Perek Gimel. I'm asking for too many sforim today. A huge machlokes, which I need to share with you the background, what this machlokes was about. But the Rambam writes, Perek Gimel, Hilchos Mamrim. מי שאין מועד בתורה שבפה אין זכר מאמרו מתורה הרי בכלל אפיקורסם מיסוסה בכל עולם מה אחר שנספרסם שהוא קויפה בתורה שבפה מורידים ולא מערם לרב חשעה כל אפיקורסם באמון ובאומרם אין תורה משמיים באמויסם באמומרם שכל אלה אינם בכלל ישראל ואין צורך לא עדים ולא ישראל ולא ידיונים באמת דברים אמורים באיש שקופה בתורה שבפה במחשבתו ובדבורם שנראו לו ואורח אחר דעתו יקלו, ואחר שרירוס ליבוי וקויפה בתורה שבעל פה התחילו. כצודק בביתויס, וכן כל התויים אחריו. אבל בני התויים האלה, ובני בניהם, שהדיחו איסם אבויסם, ונולדו בין הקראים, וגידלו אותם על דעתם, הרי הוא כתינוק שנשבה ביניהם, וגידלוהו, ואינו יזורס ולכויס בדרכי המצווס, שהרי הוא כאונוס, ואף על פי ששומע אחר כך שהוא יהודי, וראה היהודים ודוסם, הרי הוא כאונוס, שהרי גידלוהו על טעותם. כך אלו שאמרנו, אויכסם בדרכי אבויסם, הקרואים שיטו. לפיכך, ראוי להחזירו בתשובו, ולמוישכם בדברי שלום, עד שיחזרו לאיסון התוירו. So the Rambam writes, a koifer is a koifer, moridin v'loy ma'alam. But the second generation, the third generation, that's the way they were brought up. They're like anusim, like teinok שנשבה. They don't have a din of a mumma. We shouldn't be rid of them. To the contrary, we should be makar of them. Weiss-ר. Af al pi sheshamu, they were exposed at a later stage to Yiddishkeit. Doesn't matter. And today this is a huge discussion between the poskim. Some gedolim say a kid that went off the derech has a din of a mumma l'kol davar. According to the Rambam, kol hakodim la'ordoim, kill him. He doesn't have a din of a teinok שנשבה. Do we have a Shapsa Frankel? I think there's something missing here. I think it's the censor. Is there a Shapsa Frankel on them?
It's a chokmah.
I have a shop.
So the Rambam writes, and it's not this version. This is the old Rambam's, and not anything is in here. The Rambam writes that the second generation, the third generation, they have a din of תינוק שנשבה, ולא יהיה מהר להורגון. Check things out. Don't kill them so fast. The Radbaz has a comment on this halacha. עניין תינוק שנשבה לבין הגויים נזכר במסכת שבס, נראה שכוסף רבינו זה ללמד זכות על הקרואים, אבל הנמצאים בזמננו זה אם היו אפשר בידינו להורידון, או היו מצווה להורידון, שהרי בכל יום אנחנו מחזירים אותם למוטב, ומוישכם מויסם להם אין תורה שבעל פה, והם מחרפן ומגדפן את בעלי הקבולה, ואין לא דוין את אלו בכלל אנוסים, אלא כופרים בתורה שבעל פה. ועוד הרחתי בתשובת שאלה על עניינם. So, it's not clear whether the Radbaz disagrees with the Rambam, or he argues Pshat in the Rambam, because he won't feel comfortable disagreeing with the Rambam, especially not in the Rambam's house, not when he's writing a Persh on the Rambam. But he does write Herachti b'tshuva, and there are a few different tshuvas in Radbaz. Chelek Aleph Siman Ayin Gimel, Chelek Beis Tov Shin Tzadik Vav, and the Radbaz writes. We talk to them. We have a dialogue. And they don't want to listen to us. Therefore, they don't have a din of a teinok שנשבה, and goyim l'kol divrayim. The Mizrahi was 50 years younger than the Radbaz, Jewish Rebbe Mizrahi. The Radbaz was in Egypt, the Mizrahi was in Italy. The Mizrahi Nun Zayin says that the Radbaz is wrong, and the Rambam is right. Doesn't matter how much you talk to them. This is their culture, this is the way they were brought up. And if you're not enough convincing, it's your problem, not their problem. And they have it in תינוק שנשבה. When we learn about this discussion, the Radbaz seems to be the angry one, and the Mizrahi seems to be the more liberal, the more encompassing one. It's the other way around. 500 years ago, the discussion was, could we marry Karoim that did tshuva? The Mizrahi argued all the children are Mamzerim and they're Osel Bekor. Because Kiddushay Kiddushin, their Gittin are Gittin Psulim. So there must be tens of thousands of Mamzerim and all of Becheskes Mamzerim. So we can't marry them even if they do tshuva. The Radbaz had Rachmanas on these Karim. And that's why he was compelled to argue Ein Kiddushay and Kiddushin because they have a din of Goy. So once they do tshuva, they should be embraced. They should go into the Machna. So the Radbaz that seems to be the angry one, saying the Karoam of our day and age are Goyim, that was out of Rachamim, that was out of mercy. Because those that argue that they have a din of Tinuk Shenishba, if the Tinuk is Shenishba, then all the children are Mamzerim. And we can't marry them. And the Radbaz wanted to be Mati Lakoil, and that's why he argued, no. We try to embrace them, we try to teach them, they don't want to listen, and therefore they're Koivda V'Desora, V'Kigoyim L'Kol Devreim, V'Ein Kiddushin, Kiddushin. So if they do tshuva, there's no reason not to marry their children. That was the source of the purpose. So many Gedolim in our day and age. Igros Moshe, Even Ezra, Chelik Dalet Seminutes. Divrei Yatziv, my Rebbe, Yordei Seminutes. Shevet Alevi, two Chuvas and Chelik Tes, Kuf Samech Tes, Reish Nun Tes. They all quote the Radbaz. And therefore they argue the average secular Jew in our day and age doesn't have a din of a Tinuk Shenishba. They all know what Yiddishkeit is about. They didn't grow up in Zambia. They grew up in the modern world. Sometimes they come to shul. On the internet they know what from people do. They have no din of Tinuk Shenishba. And they all quote the Radbaz. And in my sefer, I wrote, Pele Gadol. How did these Gedolim not realize that the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramola, Orka, V'Aroch, Shulchan Aruch, Pascha, according to the Rambam, and the Mizrahi, Lo Kedivrei Radbaz. And it's Mefurish Kama V'Kama Ba'omen in Shulchan Aruch. We started off, I mentioned Shin Pei Hei. Shin Pei Hei deals with Machana Shabbos Befereshet, Shedinoi Ka'oived Avodah Zorah. So let's see what we have in Siman Shin Pei Hei. Tzedoiki, Hareu Ki Yisro Eno Mavat L'Rishus. Eiru Ve'eno Moel Einoi Oide Ve'erev. Tzedoikim, that was the argument in the days of the Beis Yosef between the Radbaz and the Mizrahi. The Radbaz was slightly older than the Beis Yosef. And in their day and age, they dealt with the Tzedoikim. Shulchan Aruch paskins that Tzedoiki Hareu Ki Yisrael. Ein Dinoi Kegoy. And that is Lo Kedivrei Haradbaz. Orechaim Shin Pei Hei. Yoredei Siman Beis, dealing with Shchita. Once again, the Shulchan Aruch paskins, Tzedoiki Sheshochet Shchito Soi Kshero. He is considered a Bar Zvicha. Shach Sivkot Nechov Dalet quotes the Radbaz. Shchito Soi Psulo. But the Shulchan Aruch paskins and Siman Beis Yoredei Shchito Soi Kshero. Yoredeya, Siman Kuf Nun Tes, regarding Dinei Ribis, Tzedoikim, and Kerom, Dinam Ki Yisrael. And you can't give them a Ribis loan. You are entitled to give a loan to a Goy with Ribis, but not to a Tzedoiki. And that is source number 2 that Amos says, Dinam Ki Yisrael. Even HaEzer, Siman Lamed Zayin, Kiddushehem, Kiddushin. And that is the opinion of the Mizrahi. Ein Dinam Kegoyim. Orechaim, Yoredeya, Even Ezer, the Shulchan Aruch, and the Ramo, Paskin Lo Kedivrei Haradbaz. So why do all these Gedolim quote the Radbaz when the Mizrahi disagrees? And the Radbaz tries to impose his opinion on the Rambam. The Rambam says, second generation, third generation, even though they are exposed to Yiddishkeit, but they still have a din of Tinuk Shenishba. The Radbaz says, but we teach them. We engage. They don't want to listen to us. And that's why they have a din of a goyim. But isn't that what the Rambam is dealing with? The Rambam says, B'neihem u b'nei b'neihem, af al pi shalomnu, let's see the Rambam again, still have a din of a Tinuk Shenishba, kiven shekach gidlu. So, when the Radbaz in his Persian, the Rambam, suggests imposing on the Rambam his opinion, I think it's because after all he's writing a Persian on the Rambam. But it doesn't fit in with the Rambam. The Rambam writes, Hareu ko'onus, af al pi sheshoma achar kach shiyudi, v'ro Yehudim v'dosam, Hareu ko'onus sharei gidlu al to'usam. So, kol shechnoch ein dinam kegoy. And because we're not dealing today with the Mamzera's question as they were dealing 500 years ago. The questions we have are more how to relate to these people. Are we supposed to be Makar? Or we say, no, they're Goyim, go to hell. We have nothing to do with it.
If they're Kedushin, then you have problems with Mamzeres, right? With any Chiloni that becomes strong.
Not really, because at least in Medina Yisrael, they all give a proper gift. In America, many of them, yes. If you have a proper Kedushin, you don't have a proper gift. You have a problem with this, but that is a minority. That is not across the board. Once 500 years ago, the Tzaddikim were a separated community. They weren't part of Jewish communities. And therefore, the chashash was, none of them gives a proper get. Totally secular Jews in America, that would be a problem. But in most cases, ein Kiddushin, because there are no proper Eidim by the Kiddushin, there's no proper Maisi Kiddushin, they switch rings, so the Kiddushin isn't valid. The problem in days of yore was that Kiddushin was valid, and the Gerushin wasn't. And therefore, based on these 5 Seifim Shulchan Aruch, I wrote, the average Chaloini nowadays has a din of Kiddushin. I go to the extreme, even those that left the fold. The Chazon Ish writes twice in Yoreh Deah, Siman Beis and Siman Hey. He quotes Rabbi Eliezer, Hameya ani im yesh v'dor hazeh mishi yodea l'uchiach. And he quotes one of the Gedolei HaMusar that the Chofetz Chaim quotes. The fact that we're not successful in bringing them back to Yiddishkeit is because Hameya ani im yesh v'dor hazeh mishi yodea. And therefore we should be makar of them, and they are achenu b'nei Yisrael, b'Yisrael afal b'shochet b'Yisrael. So there are 2 arguments against saying they're like goyim. One is Tinuk Shenishba, and the other is based on the Oruch Laner that I quoted at the beginning of today's shul. So many secular people today keep some mitzvahs. Tens of thousands of families in Israel want to feel that they keep Shabbos. Some don't drive on Shabbos, but they still would use their cell phones, put on electricity. So many people in this modern world, you ask them, do you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? They say, of course we believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Are you observant? I only eat in a kosher restaurant. They won't go into a restaurant that doesn't have hechsher. They don't care what hechsher it is. But, and this is so common in this modern world. I think the majority of Jews in Israel keep some mitzvahs. They abstain from some things on Shabbos. They won't eat in a treif restaurant. They won't eat basar levad. They won't eat chazer. They keep somewhat, and this is very acceptable in the modern day and age, and therefore, ein larchiko. My opinion is they all have a din of Tinuk Shenishba. Besides those that are outspoken atheists, yeah, there are some koifrim be'ikam. to our dismay, there are quite a few Jews that are kofer bigger, and kofer bigger is tinoik and mumar kofer. However, I disagree with those that say none from people are kosher ladies. Rasha and mumar are two different categories. If a person doesn't keep Shabbos, he's a Rasha, and he's kosher ladies. If he doesn't keep the Aveir of Kleva Be'erva, he's kosher ladies. If he eats non-kosher food, he's kosher ladies. If he eats Rabbanut, he's not kosher ladies. But if he's over and chayva laven, then he's kosher ladies. He's not a mumar. Ein dinoi kigoy. Mitzvah lakavoy. That doesn't say that he's kosher ladies. Any person that's over and available is kosher ladies. And I won't say they have a din of a shoygig. After all, he knows. He knows that from people keep Shabbos. If he doesn't keep Shabbos, he has a din of a Rosh. He's posaleidus. He's not a mumar. And in today's shir, I want to draw the distinction between a mumar, shedinoi kigoy, and a Rosh posaleidus. So none from people are not koshaleidus.
He's a mutter. He's somebody who just thinks he's not doing anything wrong. Hagam Charedim do it. He's as mushba by his parents regarding being mumar as he is regarding Charedim not having the truth.
I think that is a mistake. He's not a oimer mutter. He knows that according to halacha, there are so many things you need to do and he doesn't do.
Does he know to be machshir halacha?
What?
Does he know to be machshir halacha?
If he doesn't want to be machshir halacha, then he's a rosh.
He's just uneducated. He's a teenage mitzvah.
He's enough educated to know that from people keep mitzvahs, and that's all you need to know. You know, the Ritva Shabbat says in the name of the time, never chanapakoris. You know that expression? It's a Torah's goal. There is no such a thing as never chanapakoris. But there is a concept of never charosh. Yes. If he doesn't keep mitzvahs, he's a rosh. He's not a shoygig. A shoygig is a person that doesn't know. A shoygig is either a person that doesn't know today is Shabbos, or he doesn't know this malach is also on Shabbos. Every average Chinoni knows that today is Shabbos. Most of them would know which day is Shabbos. And they all know that a frum person can't smoke on Shabbos, can't ride on Shabbos, can't drive on Shabbos. They're all aware of that. They're not machshav Shabbos. That makes him a rosh.
There's no makom to say that they look at Yiddishkeit and at frum people as people shishtaltu al yahadut, as if they know what Judaism is all about, and therefore, like the Rav is saying, they know that's from their point of view.
That is naive. They would like a different type of Judaism. They would like a liberal, humanistic Judaism, and there are some values of Judaism they would cherish, but they think Shabbos and Kashrus are old-fashioned and they don't care. It's not that they don't know. That's not a shoygig. That's nebuch amazing. Call him a nebuch. So once again, he's a tinuk shenishba up to the level he's not considered a mumar. But you can't turn him into a tzaddik. If he doesn't keep mitzvahs, he's a rosh and he's posaleidus. He is not ka'oived avodah zara.
So we got a yain nesach. He will not pass on a yain nesach.
I don't think he would pass on this.
Pasakum.
No.
Pasakum nishalakum.
I'm
It's only
the
with chassid.
only idea here, but where's the
No,
truth?
no it's possible.
He's not Mekayim everything because he thinks that these pro-Orthodox Jews are mistaken. Even though we try to engage in the conversation,
He doesn't believe in the God of Israel, and he knows what the God of Israel requires and demands. Doesn't that he doesn't know?
and he's as mumar as anybody else. If he doesn't think he's doing the right
To
thing,
be a mumar, you need to be out. Chala Shabbos, toive avodah zara, which means he's a koifer maker. So these people should not be considered as koifer maker because they do keep some mitzvahs, which means they want to believe in Hashem. Why don't they keep all the mitzvahs? Some of them it's just too difficult. They believe we'll get away with it. who is not as angry as the...
Many of them think it's wrong.
Wait, so the fees
I spoke to many people. They think it's wrong. They think that the Haredim are stuck in the past.
yeah, because they don't believe the
So
Torah.
that is a Rosh. If you don't believe what the Torah says, and you're not willing to be Makayim what the Torah says, because you think the Torah is old-fashioned, you're not a tzaddik.
So
It's
what about a case where you have someone, we've heard cases like this in the past, a chashuva from Jew, who's found out that he has been making mistakes, let's say in the world of a riot, in the world of gambling or something like that. So he's not an Emer Mutter. He knows he's not doing what from Jews do. He might not be a mummer because he's following halacha be'etzem. So maybe is he a tinok shenishba? Can we call him a tinok shenishba klapi this aver that he's doing?
Even a Tinuk Shanishba, if he doesn't keep mitzvahs, he's supposed to lay this.
Yeah, I'm asking klapi the hashkafic matter. How do we look at someone who is found, let's say, to be mizana, a rav or something, or a rabbi, or from Jew?
If he didn't do tshuva, he's a Rosh.
So he's a Russia, but he's tinok shenishba klapi, but he's not a mummy.
He's not a mummy. Yeah. But he definitely is not kosher la'edus. There's a tshuva minchas which is a fascinating tshuva, and it relates to the concept of nebuch and apokoros. I think relate. A person is a convert, and he did a proper geirus. Medakter b'kala kibachim. He was shocked to listen to a lecture in which the lecturer, the Rav, said that only Torah's Moshe's emes and Christianity and Islam are a total sheker. And the person was taken aback. And he said, all my life I thought that a Kodesh Baruch Hu gave the Jews Moshe Rabbeinu. He gave the Christians Oiseish. He gave the Muslims Muhammad. Yelchu ish b'shem Elav, v'anachnu b'shem Hashem Elokeinu Nelech. He was troubled to hear that we need to believe that all the rest is sheker. And he said, I was never aware of that. Is my geirus valid? And that is the question of nebuch and apokoros. It is miyasodas adas. And the proper nusach of Oleinu L'Shabeach is Shehem Mishtachavim Lehevel Barek U'Mispalim Lem Le'el Lo Yoshia. V'anachnu Koirem Mishtachavim Amaydim. But I brought many rayas. Doesn't have a thing of a person that believes in what good Jews believe, and I want to act like a good Jew, is a good Jew, even though he has fundamental mistakes in his shkofa and in his mind. So the Rambam in Hilchos Shuvah writes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has no physical attributes. It doesn't have eyes or ears and whatever we find in Tanakh. Einei Hashem Elokecha. Oznov El Shavosam. It is only the derech Moshe. And the Rambam writes, if a person is Magshim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's an apokoros. And the Rabbi writes, Har begedolim v'toivim mimeno holchu b'derech. And everybody wonders, Har begedolim v'toivim mimeno, greater than the Rambam, believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has eyes and ears? So the Chazon Ish says, what a mistake. Har begedolim v'toivim mimenu, not mimeno, not with the choylim. Not gedolim v'toivim mimenu. Gedolim v'toivim ma'ameinu. Gedolim v'toivim amongst us. That's a proper pronunciation of the Rabbah. Not gedolim v'toivim mimenu. But still the Rabbah says gedolim v'toivim mimenu. Many good Jews have this mistake. And it doesn't disqualify them. They're still good Jews.
So Jews for J think that they're doing a good thing?
Jews for J know that they're going against proper mainstream Judaism.
That's why I had
We are dealing about a person that wants to beat mainstream Judaism. He's a ger tzedek. He has no problem believing this, but he just wasn't aware. If this is what I need to believe, okay. I believe in everything good Jews believe. He just wasn't aware. He had a mistake. A mistake doesn't make him a mumar. Jews for J are mumerim. They know that Judaism and Christianity can't go together. They all know that, and they prefer Oisei Wish instead of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's kfira, that's meanness. That disqualifies them. We're dealing with a different situation. We're dealing with a person just was in shock, he was a liberal person. Growing up in Western society, everything is legitimate, everybody chooses his way. But he wasn't aware that he needs to believe that all the rest is false. He didn't say, I can't believe that. He was just shocked and dismayed. And he wanted to know, am I a proper guy?
Was he possible
Of course
to
you're a proper guy. You want to be one of us.
Was he possible to Edus before? You found out?
I don't think so. Because he wasn't over a veil. He wasn't Machal Shabbos. He wasn't Chayav Malkus. A person is Chayav Malkus if he has a mistake in Hashkafa. So I don't think Adam would have a Rosh. I don't think he would be Kosalas. He just needs to be straightened out. So, very important shiur we had today. It's Hashkafa and
So, Teenuk Shnishba is not problem of Pasachim, Mishalakim.